Damn, son, where'd you find this? Rock with your boys.
All right, you're looking live at Generation and Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks. I'm the host, DJ. I tell you what, and I'm joined with my co-host, my dad, and we are back with another one. What is today? Monday?
Today is Tuesday.
Tuesday. Getting my days mixed up. Yeah, I really like that beat right there. But yeah, you want to say what's up to the people? We got first days of OTA. You want to let them know what's going on?
First day of OTAs. We're gonna get into it and chop it up and get this OTA situation started off.
Yeah. And we so we seen we got some. I think today was the first day that we seen GP is what they calling him, George Pickens in a Cowboys uniform, which was rather cool. And I mean, I watched his interview. I watched
Did you watch Schotty?
Yeah, I watched Schotty, and I'm just,
So what was GP saying? What was your first impression?
Man, this is, my first impression is just it's really what my impression has been the entire time. But I mean, I'm gonna double down on what I was saying last time. It's just like, man, we have this, maybe it's just me. I have this thing that I do when I have this thing that I do when it comes to sports, when I just be like, okay, like some of this stuff is just like, okay, you literally just, it's just the culture of sports. You just have to say these things because it's, you just have to say it because you have to talk about it. But it absolutely be having no substance to it. Like you can say something like you will hear somebody say Dak sucks. Dak's trash. Like somebody's gonna say that, but they have no substance to that. That's just absolutely not true. When you look at things, it's just not true. You know what I mean? So like when they're saying things like, oh my God, you got to watch out for George Pickens. I mean, he's just going to come in and he has behavior issues and he's just this and he's just, then you look at him and you actually look at him and you actually look at how many penalties he has compared to the other players. And then you look at his actual tenure and then you look at it and then you look at his personality and then you look at what everybody else is saying around him and you just be like, okay, that's just overboard what y'all saying. It's just not true. You know what I mean? It's just like, this guy is just, he's a regular person just like everybody else that just was just frustrated about the team that he played for that didn't have a good quarterback and how they were doing things just like any other player. He's not a selfish person. He's not a person that says, hey, I'm not getting the ball, so I'm finna act the fool. It ain't like that at all. And so my impression of him is just like blown away. But not blown away because I want to know what they're going to say now as far as how they're going to try to spin this narrative. But he answered every single question so well, and it came off so sincere, and it came off so genuine that people was trying to figure out, like, you could just tell the media, they was kind of scrambling to ask questions because they didn't expect for him to be that knowledgeable and that down to earth and that nice and that bubbly. They was kind of just like, I mean, like, how when somebody is so nice and so genuine, you don't want to ask them no stupid question. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. About something negative. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you could kind of tell that they was like, so how do you feel about your role here? And then he tells them, it's like, no one's even thinking about that. We just trying to learn the playbook. We got rookies out here that we trying to teach, that we trying to coach up. Everybody's in a learning mentality right now. So what we're doing, we're not focused on any of that. You know what I mean? It's just like, they asked CD the other day. So because him and CD he said it in the interview in his press conference today that CD was one of the first the players that hit him up before this even happened.
Mm.
Before it was official, they was talking, and so they've been hanging out since it was official. And he went with CD to Kyler Murray's thing. George didn't go to OU, so he didn't have no reason to be there besides being with CD. So you know what I mean? That lets you know that they're traveling, state to state with each other. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's just and then CD said it's not no number one, no number two. We're not even doing that. And then the other day, they was asking CD about how does he feel about Pickens when they was doing a golf thing the other day for the schedule release. And CD was just like, man, I love George. Man, I mean, that's just that's they kind of
So
been
they were friends before.
they were friends before. They've been friends before. They've been
Hey, how do I get the volume to come up in my headset? Like,
it's
is it on the
connected.
mic?
It is. It's on the mic. So you have to press the volume up button on the mic. And then so like I mean, he answered every question the way you want him to answer it. I mean, he just seemed like a good guy. Like I said, my question and my problem and my concern is going to be, what are they going to do next year? This doesn't need to be. I have a few concerns about this season. My number one concern is about Dak's health. My concern is about, and before I talk about Schotty, I'm gonna say this. My concern is about Dak's health is because it's just too reminiscent of Tony Romo's last year. Everything
When we drafted Zeke
and Dak. When we drafted both of them, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, we had this new star Zeke on the team that's supposed to help out Tony Romo, and then Tony Romo got hurt in preseason, and we couldn't even see them together. And so, I'm kind of worried about the same thing with Dak. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like we got all these new shiny toys, and we got this new all-star receiver, and I don't want Dak to get hurt because it's just like, like I said, and the reason why I'm saying this is because they had an opportunity in the draft this year to settle that score. They could have drafted Jalen Milroe. They could have drafted anybody. They could have drafted Quinn Ewers to where if Dak do go down, we have a shot. Because right now, Joe Milton, if Dak go down, we're out of there. We might as well pack it up and go and get ready for next season. But
you don't think Joe Milton could win if Dak missed 4 games? You don't think Joe Milton could win three
I mean,
2 or 3 games? I do.
I mean, yeah, but I mean that's fine.
And that's what you got to look at. Nobody is gonna. Every team that has a MVP, whether it's Jaden Daniels, whether it's Green Bay, if the 49ers lose their quarterback, the Eagles, if the Eagles lose Jalen Hurts, they're the question
up.
But the question is not packing it up. The question is, do you have a capable backup that can win? If Dak misses 4 games because of a hamstring or a quad, or he hits his finger on a helmet,
I mean, yeah,
you win 2 of the 4? Can you win 3 of the 4? I think Joe Milton can do that. So
I don't. You can do that, but I'm talking about him going down for the season. That's what I'm talking.
Yeah, but I guess my thing is with that. That's pretty much with every team. So the other side of that is you just have to have a capable quarterback that can win 2 or 4, 3 or 4. But I wanted to
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to talk about George Pickens. So I thought it was interesting that you said that he was one of the least penalized players in the league, because when you listen to all of the other stuff, you would think it was otherwise. I just think people don't give him credit for just, not totally going off the deep end with a terrible quarterback play that he had. But I do think that we got to remember the franchise tag. So I think the chances of him, staying here are pretty good. I don't think they would have made this trade just for a 1-year rental. So I think he's gonna be good.
They have to make him a part of this team.
Yeah, and I like the way they incorporating him in. There was a lot of discussion today about his jersey number, but it was made clear that that's just temporary. Yeah. I think he's going to end up with 14. The question is going to be, what number does Bell end up with? Because I think Bell wants a single digit number, but it seems like it's not that many single digit numbers. That's kind of the holdup. And I'm sure, George Pickens is probably paying him something, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, he probably pay him something. Probably pay him. I mean, no,
Or
you
do
know,
guys still do that?
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They probably pay him like I think it was who was it? I think it was Ashton Genty paid 50,000
Mm.
for his number, 50,000.
So
So
that's not frowned upon, or like that's these days because guys don't make a lot of money. So and
right.
George Pickens, I don't even know what he makes a year.
No, it's more of a business thing because you know what I'm saying. It's like a business thing because these Cowboys jersey sales is a major part of their revenue.
So if George has to pay him, George Pickens will make the money back.
Of course, yeah,
So
that's the reason why he would pay him
yeah.
because
So,
it's just like it's just like
and by the way, I don't know if you knew this. Uh, Back in the day, guys wasn't even getting paid for their jerseys until somebody actually changed that. You know who that was, right?
if I had to guess who that was, I would say that would probably be Dion.
No, that's a Jerry thing.
Oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
it was a player that changed that.
No, no. That's Jerry. Jerry brought that all in.
Oh yeah, so you know what I mean. Their jersey sales is a big part of them. Mike be the number one. It's always a Cowboy.
Hmm.
So you
But
know,
yeah, I was the little snippets that I saw of him. What's up, B Bird? Appreciate you joining. I haven't seen you in a while. We're gonna try to hook up with you before the season starts. Appreciate it. But yeah, I had the stuff that I saw. I'm impressed. Just the more I watched a cut up of him today. It was a highlight film, of course, but I mean, just the talent that he has, the plays that he made. He's he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be terrific, and I think we just gonna knock on wood on Dak. I think Dak. Put it like this: if Dak plays 17 games, I think you know how the Commanders kind of surprised the league last year, and they ended up in the NFC Championship game.
mhm.
I can easily see that's Dallas if Dak
Yeah,
stays healthy. If everybody stays healthy.
yeah. If everybody stays healthy, we can call it homerism or whatever you want to call it. But I just feel like if we stay healthy, that we're going to be one of the best teams, and it's going to be hard to beat us. I mean, like I said, people, realistically speaking, I mean, this is a 12-win team on average. I mean, what, over the last 4 years, what's our average win total? 12?
12-5.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not going to be much different than that. You know what I mean? If everyone stays healthy. When everyone stays healthy, this is a 12-5 team. I mean, and you got to have some kind of luck, So if you get some luck, you can get a 13th game. You know what I'm saying? So you can get a 13-win team, but like I said, really what matters is what happens when we get to the playoffs, if we get to the playoffs. That's really
Yeah.
all my concern. And then with our schedule, if you get to the playoffs with our schedule, that means that you played tough teams to get there. And so that means that, you played tough teams to get there. So my only question is health. You know what I mean? It's just health. Is can we stay healthy? And
Yeah. If they
that's it.
stay healthy, this and they're due on that front. And I think some of the players that we have, Diggs, Ravel Jr., um, even a guy like Kalen Carson, we got some guys that's gonna start off the year kind of banged up. Um, there's a very good chance that we're just gonna be a better team, toward the end of the year when some of these guys just kind of get their second win. Because Micah did that last year. Micah had that early injury, and when he came back, he just went off. So I want to talk about some of Nick Harris things that he posted today. Shout out to Nick Harris. So I want to get your thoughts on this. He said that Wanye Thomas played a lot at safety. Apparently, Donovan Wilson is doing some kind of injury rehab. So, it's good to see Wanye. What do you think about him?
Well, Wanye,
Yeah.
I think that that's his position. I think that his position is safety. I feel like I feel like he really has to try hard though. I feel like it's not as easy as it is for some of the other players. Like like if you when you put like I even though Hooker is not a good example, I would say Hooker I would use Hooker. It's just like when Hooker is playing safety, it's just like, when he was good, when he's playing good, it's just like you could tell he's just doing his job with ease. It's just like he can go from this spot to that spot, and it doesn't look like out of the ordinary. When Wanye got to go from way over here to way over there, it looked like he hustling hard as he can to get there.
And
And
he's
so,
he's faster.
right, but it
So,
just
but
look,
it's
it
just the
just
experience, you think?
yeah, it's just like his game doesn't flow.
Oh,
You can tell he's calculating the moves.
and do you know his brother went 2 picks before we took Ravel? You think we would have took his brother?
I would hope so.
Man,
Over Ravel, I would hope so.
yeah.
I
Who
really
was
want it.
who was rated higher?
Uh,
Was Wanye's brother rated higher?
he was.
Okay, so Wanye, then they talked about Izzy also playing in the nickel. I don't think Izzy is a starter. I absolutely think that Izzy should be in the nickel and dime. I just don't think he's somebody that they use enough. So maybe this regime was. And I was going to tell you, Hooker actually started for Eberflus in Indianapolis, so he knows the defense. Um, so the other guy you mentioned, he said Jake Ferguson. You could tell he put on some weight. It's a lot of talk about Brevin Span forward. So what are your thoughts on Brevin Span forward, like making a leap,
I
maybe
mean,
moving ahead of school?
I just don't see. I just don't see how any of these, how Schoon and Brevin Span Ford are gonna beat the undrafted free agents that we have. I just don't see how that's. I don't see. I think the undrafted free agents that we got are better athletes than them.
Fairweather definitely. If he gets a real shot, he's somebody to watch. Talked about Convante Turpin looked good first day. He was. A lot of people are saying sneakingly a word.
Yeah,
Are saying that we talking about Mingo and Tolbert. They're saying that Turpin could be the three. I don't myself don't agree with that.
I
I,
do.
I think Turpin is kind of his own little category on his own little island. I don't even know if he's a 3 or 4. He's just kind of Turpin.
We can use
So
him. We should use him like Miami uses Tyreek Hill.
yeah, and so you can use Turpin even though Mingo or Tolbert is your 3 or 4. So but I do want to see them get him more involved.
The problem is for the other teams is what do you do when you have CD, uh, George Pickens, Tolbert, and Ferguson on the field like this? I mean Tolbert and uh,
Turpin.
Turpin on the field at the same time. When they go spread like that, I mean, who do you have on your team that can cover? I mean, what
Mm.
NFL teams have a secondary that can cover CeeDee Lamb, George Pickett, uh, Jalen Tolbert, and Turpin at the same time?
And if you get protection, it's gonna be hard. And then Mingo is gonna be in the mix as well.
Yeah, when I say
Um,
Tolbert, I'm substituting Tolbert and Mingo. They they
yeah,
they get
yeah.
they split in time because Mingo people, in Cowboy
You
Nation,
you was you was a Mingo guy when he was coming out of college.
I was, and I think he's gonna have a turnaround year. But I also think that people are, we was upset about Mingo being a number 2 receiver or something like that. But
Yeah,
him being a number 3 receiver, he gonna be eating the third cornerbacks up. And what he gonna do? Because he was a number 2 receiver and number 1 receiver in Carolina, number 2 receiver in Carolina. So now that he gonna be going up against like 3s and 4s, it's not gonna be he gonna be dominating,
yeah.
against
That
them.
that Tolbert Mingo, that's the number one battle in camp. Now I was gonna run this by you. Now we've been talking about Kenneth Murray all this time. I was thinking that Kenneth Murray was gonna be the Mike. Now, understand too. Now, you probably know a lot more about this than I do. When you're running that 5-2-4, you really have two mics. It's not a traditional weak side linebacker, but people were saying today that Sanborn is really like going to be the mic, and Murray's going to be the wheel, which is actually that's good because at that point Murray can just kind of freelance and run to the ball. He's obviously built for that. But I thought it was interesting. I kind of thought it was going to be the opposite way. I thought myself that Murray was going to be the Mike, and so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean that's that. I think that's an awesome look. I'm gonna be trying to figure out what's the substitute package looking like. Um, uh, what's the substitute package looking like? I want to know who's coming in after Sanborn and who's coming in after Kenneth Murray. I want to know what is Leofold doing. I want to know what is who else did we have? Because we totally redid our linebacker room. So
Well,
who?
you got the rookie they drafted. I think he was from Florida.
Mhm.
He's more of a edge or a will. I don't think he's going to be a factor. So I think your linebackers, whatever you're doing, it's going to be Murray, Leofold, and Sanborn. I think that's going to be. And of course, the guy that everybody's waiting to see. Hopefully, we'll see him later in the year. Is Overshawn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Overshawn. And then just to throw this out there, it says in the 2024 NFL season, George Pickens had 3 penalties.
Well, I bet if you go back and look at Dez career, Dez didn't have a lot of penalties.
No, I'm just saying he's not like one of the most penalized players at all. You know,
No,
he
but
CD had more penalties than him last year.
I forgot to tell you, we're going to do it for our next show. Uh, People talking about the Batman, Robin, and all of that. I think it's Batman and Black Panther.
Yeah, that's
We
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta do our Batman and Black Panther thing for our next show.
And have you seen how big George Pickens is compared to CD?
Yeah.
He's huge. So
Well, like I said, that clip I watched today, just that what the clip I saw, I wish I had saved it. They showed every 15-yard or more pass that he caught last year. It was just
unbelievable,
incredible
unbelievable.
highlight. Yeah, just I mean, and separation was there, just making unbelievable catches. He's catching the ball a lot of times when the ball is not catchable.
Yeah, that's what his specialty is, and it's just like you know what I'm saying. That's what his specialty is. Number one, and then number two, it's just like we always talking about separation. He don't need he what he is
Hmm.
good at is catching the ball when there is no separation. That's what he's the best at. He's the best at
That's
making a tough catch.
that's what Alvin Harper did. Alvin Harper was another tall guy. He was 6'2", 6'3". He had very long arms, and that's what Harper would do. He would just at different times during the game, they're just covering the playmaker, and Alvin Harper would just make play. But also Alvin Harper, he would make plays in crunch time when he was being covered too. Them plays he made against San Francisco, the game winning play in that second NFC Championship game, he was double covered and caught the ball.
Yeah, yeah. See, what you finna see is you finna see George Pickens do what like Kyrie did. You know, when Kyrie came in, everybody was like, "Oh my God, is Kyrie gonna have? He's gonna be a nuisance and all of this crazy stuff going on and off the field and off the court, and are they gonna pay him? And why?" But then
Yeah.
he came in and he was a straight up angel. He was everything that Luca needed. He was everything. He wasn't the
Yeah.
leader.
Yeah.
He was like the he played his role
He
great.
don't get he don't get a lot of penalties either.
He don't get a lot of penalties. He got paid like he was supposed to. He gonna get paid again. You know what I mean? So it's just like that's what George Pickens is gonna do. And then this culture thing, we could switch to Schotty. Like Schotty. Now, when you hear these coaches talk, you kind of know what's happening. When you hear Mike McCarthy talk, you kind of be like rolling your eyes a little bit because you know what's happening. You know these old vanilla answers and these old whatever. He ain't really giving you no answers or nothing. And then when you listen to Jason Garrett, you kind of like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like just like just whatever, man. You know what I mean? You kind of just like looking for people within the staff to listen to. So Shotty is that guy to where it's just like you ask him questions, he answers them like a human being. Like he you know what I mean? And like the stuff that he talking about doing that he's been doing, like he said, he took George Pickens out to eat, you know what I'm saying? And they was just chopping it up. And then George Pickens was like, oh yeah, and then we went and played a game. We went and played 1-on-1. You know what I'm saying? Basketball. You know what I'm saying? He said they played 3 games 1-on-1. And then he said, you know what I'm saying? Shotty was just like, George Pickens won 2, and then he won the last one. And then they had free throw shooting contest, and Shotty won 2, and then George Pickens won 2 or something like that. But it's just like, for him to be doing all of that, and then Shotty was just like him and CD been together. I don't even know where they went. They went to like some kind of baseball thing or whatever. So it's kind of like for them to kind of be like doing those kind of things, and then you turn around and you see Tyler Smith and Tyler Smith, uh Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker, BB. You see all them at the game together. Then you turn around and you're gonna see Micah doing his thing, but he doing his thing with the Cowboys and with the rest of the NFL. But it's just like when you're seeing this culture thing that we have not seen that before. Let's just be clear. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen these coaches getting involved and putting ping pong tables in the locker room because he wants them to be having fun. We haven't had a coach that says, that him and the players be playing playing shooting in the office, competition in the office, just playing shooting. They got a basketball goal in the office. We haven't seen that to where it's like to where Shotty is just like he's just making it fun and he's making the culture all about competition and everything is fun and everything is just like they just a young team. So I think what you're gonna see is you're gonna see like the Cowboys, like they're gonna look like one team this year. They're gonna all they're gonna look like one team, and it's just like that's the transition that I think needed to be made to where like football is a young man sport. These young guys are getting better, but it's also like it's just like this. It's just like when you look at football, it's like who would you rather have coaching your football team? Would you rather have Uncle Bobby coaching your football team, or would you rather have Rodney coaching your football team? In this era, you'd rather want to have Rodney because he's had the newer, improved. He has the younger, innovative ideas. He know what's going on there. So that's kind of like the way that Shotty moved the team. It's kind of like, okay, we can only let the young guys take over it. If this, let's figure this out. Let's figure out how to get. Let's figure out how to do what the rest of the league is doing, but do it better than them because we are better than them. I'm like if we can do the same thing that the Eagles is doing, we have just as many good players as they do, maybe more. So
Shotty reminds me a lot of Sirianni, but I will say that
he's just a nicer person.
Shotty is a natural. His dad was the same type of coach. His dad, he commanded the room. He had the players' attention. He had their respect. Now, I would just say, obviously, Shotty is a younger generation, as you said, of what his dad did. But, in some respects, Parcells was the same way. When Parcells would do press conferences, they were like just must listen. You just never, you kind of just he was keeping it real all the time.
Yeah, when he get on the radio, it's kind of like, all right, be quiet because you finna hear everything you want to know. You finna find out.
And his players, they loved him.
Yeah,
they would.
Tuna. We loved him. The fans loved him.
Yeah, so his dad, Marty Schottenheimer, he was the same kind of coach. As I said many times on our show, the only difference is he had the 2 NFC championship games and he lost, and they were close. So he's gonna have that.
What I also like about Shotty is he's not scared to say, like, we're trying to win a championship. He said that the other day. He said, it's been 30 years. We're trying to win a championship. That's what we're trying to do. It's just like
he's been waiting for this job his whole life. So he ain't trying to go out here and go 7-10 or
he gonna be
now that doesn't mean that it's not gonna happen, but
no. I feel like he's a fan favorite. You know what I'm saying? Everybody loves Shotty. All the players love Shotty. All of the the staff love him. The fans love him. Everybody love him because what I'm saying? If it walk like it and talk like it, it's that.
He's authentic. He's real. And I was telling I was tweeting with Jay Tuck today. Shout out with Jay Tuck. And what I said, which is true, the coaches have underwear Olympics too. That's the season that we're in. Everything is going to sound good right now, but to his credit, he's authentic. He's a real thing. So now it's just a matter of him just having the players and just them getting him the players that he needs. They still got a few more moves they need to make, and then just getting everybody in camp. I do need to get your thoughts about Micah. So he was there yesterday. He wasn't today. So I kind of expected that. Is that what you were kind of thinking, that he just going to kind of be in and out, just doing some of the stuff? And
The thing about Micah is this is totally unique. Micah is in the conversation for being the best player in the NFL. So we don't. This is
the
nothing.
highest paid.
Well, one of the best players in the NFL that needs to be one that's going to be one of the highest paid. So the thing is like this. Micah's situation is totally unique. So we can't compare his situation to anybody's, and we can't look at what he's doing or not doing as an indicator of anything. We can't, because if you want to say even when you want to say, well, we want him to be there to learn a new system, to learn a new Micah is one of them players to where all he got to do is play. You know what I'm saying? He's that smart to where he's that smart. And
He's gonna know what to do.
He's gonna know what to do. He's that smart. He's that he's brilliant. He's that athletic. So he lives and eats and breathes football. So this ain't that type of situation right here. And then on top of that, he's also, you can't compare his business situation to anybody else's, because he got so many other things going. He kicked the door down on this podcast thing. He started that. Nobody, no other player had a major podcast on a major network during the season. That was his thing. He did that. Nobody started that. So you got to give him credit for that, because everybody's going to go to that. Everybody's going to go to the NIL type of deal, because these NFL players, like for instance, the players, like, give you an example, like Jordan Lewis, right? Jordan Lewis was low paid his whole career, right? He really didn't get that bag. I tell you what, you got players like Jordan Lewis. I guarantee you, if they get a podcast on top of what they doing, they gonna get that bag. You're gonna have players watching players like that, because he's a fan favorite. Even though he ain't getting a bag on the field like that, that podcast gonna bring him millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, nah, this is the new thing, and this is how this gonna go. You don't think we want to see Jaden Daniels' podcast? I would watch it every single time. You know what I'm saying? You don't think if AJ Brown and the Eagles, if they had a podcast, would we watch it? I would. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, nah, this is just that thing to where it's just like, nah, this is gonna be, Micah is different, and we had to treat him as such. I remember last year, Micah and Zim. It's two guys where you looking at Micah, you looking at Zim. Like, Micah wasn't too excited about the new thing. He really didn't want Dan Quinn to leave. He didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of, you could tell he didn't like that. So it was just like, you know what I'm saying? But what we noticed with Micah is that when it got close to the season, Micah got real quiet and he started focusing. And you look up and Micah is busy. Micah is playing hard. Micah ain't doing a lot of talking. He ain't doing a lot of commentary. The only time he talking is on his podcast. And other than that, he playing. So, and what happened? Micah just excelled and succeeded right on through like he normally do. He was almost leading the league in sacks for a while. So it's like, come on, you just gotta let Micah do his thing. Ain't nobody worried about that. We need to be worried about the front office. That's what we looking at. But we looking at the front office.
So we just gotta believe too that this deal is done. They just trying to go through the machinations of just the normal song and dance that they do as far as just wrapping things up. I'll be shocked if it's not done by training camp, but they really know that, probably getting him in camp, it's gonna be good for him to be in camp. You don't want to go to camp, even though, like we're saying, he's gonna be fine either way. So hopefully they'll get everything wrapped up with Micah. He said he actually had dinner with Micah last night, which was interesting. And
exactly. So, I was just want to say that. And then Schotty thing is like this. You can kind of tell that, like, and we could tell this last year. And I keep going back to that point to where, man, when Schotty first had his first interview with the team, when he was offensive coordinator, I came and I asked you, I was like, yo, who is this guy? Because he just sounds like he got it together. He just sounds like he know what he talking about. He got it
Everybody
together.
that went to camp thought he was the head coach. People that were at camp
Mm-hmm.
They were like, he sounds like the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, and he did. So it's just like, for us to hear that him was that Shotty and Dak and CD was butting heads with Mike McCarthy. For us to hear that, and it wasn't the opposite way around. It wasn't like the coaches butting head with the players. It was the players and this one coach butting heads with the head coach. For him to be the coach, it's just like, okay, so he's on the player side, and you can kind of tell that. That's why he was just like, we got agents too. That's what Shotty said. Shotty was like, I got an agent too. So,
I heard
you know,
that. Yeah, he
Shotty,
man.
Shotty was like, I'm not tripping. What I'm saying. Shotty was saying that to basically, he was just saying it to where, like, listen, he put a scenario up. He was just like, it's not up to me to tell Micah that I really, really want him here when I know what he going through. I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not trying to force him to come to camp because I want him to get his money. So I'm telling Micah you need to hold out so
I
you
heard
can
it.
get
I heard
paid.
it. I heard him say that. That piqued my interest too when he said that.
It's just like, yeah, so Shotty is on the player side. He like, nah, bro, you need to hold out to get your paper. You do what you do. This is voluntary,
So,
so whatever.
so a lot of the content creators, Boss Cowboy, shout out to Boss. They really think that you know, Shotty is calling some of his shots, not to use a pun, but they insist that he pounded the table for Booker and he got Booker player that he wanted, and
Oh,
so
and we can't you can't say that without saying, because Clarence Hill and Will McClay said it the other day on their show DLLS. Shout out to them. And Clarence Hill Chill said it today. He was just like, we heard that you spearheaded the George Pickens thing, that you was pounding the tables for George Pickens before the draft, during the draft, and after the draft. You made
yeah,
that happen. So
yeah,
you kind of kept everybody on their toes about that. So what that tells me is, goes into what you were saying. Yeah, he was pounding the table for Booker because he knew that he wasn't gonna
they
stop.
had George Pickens in the back pocket.
There you go.
Uh, Now what I want to know is, I just wonder where he is on finishing out this roster and not standing pat. They got the cap money. So I'm hoping that he's in there, and Eberflus too. Eberflus is well aware of Stephon Gilmore. So I'm hoping that Eberflus and Shotty are pounding the table for Gilmore. They're pounding the table for getting another one tech and a three tech. And also, I mentioned this on our other show that I think part of the kind of the slowness in this, Jerry and them, which is kind of odd, they really don't want these guys in camp, these veterans that they're going to sign. So that June 1st thing is going to be big. Then we're just going to look at, do they have somebody in mind, but they really don't want them in camp, banging around, trying to, do things to get injured. Do they want to bring somebody in?
Hmm.
But, the danger you have there is, guys haven't had any camp. But Gilmore fits the defense perfectly. It fits him better than what actually Dan Quinn did. So I'm hoping that that's a guy that they just looking at. They're going to try to get him in later. And I believe if they luck up and get DJ Reader, I think DJ Reader will be the starter.
Well,
He
he
would be the
would
starter.
he will be the starter because you already got the other starters. You got Osa. It's not no
Yeah.
question that he's gonna start. So
Yes. So
then
DJ Reader will be your starting one tech, I believe.
he will be, because because you already have your other starters. Every other position has a starter. You got Michael on the
Yeah.
other side. You got Needham, and you got all of them. So ain't
And
nobody
and,
else for ain't no
and
competition. It's
then
just
you could let Mozzie
Mozzie.
just continue his development. He can just be Mozzie and come in
But
and
this is a
just kind of do
contract year
his
for
thing.
Mozzie also. So you got to
Yeah.
think about Mozzie. You're gonna see Mozzie playing better than he's ever played before. And
Yeah.
then also, because Osa just got paid. So Mozzie looking at that, Mozzie want to get paid, and Mozzie is not no pushover. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He's not no pushover. He's the kind of guy that he just like, we can see anybody that can go through what he went through last year and come out on the other side with a smile. I mean, you got to give your hats off to them, because everybody was raining on him last year. The coaches,
Mhm.
they was
Mhm.
talking about how he was at they was talking about how he was at camp getting cussed out. They was like Jeff Kavanaugh and what's my guy name that I like that he can't, and Jesse was like, yo, I understand that we need to put pressure on Mozzie. But if somebody was talking to me as a player, like how they was talking to Mozzie last year, I wouldn't be on the team no more. He was just like I would. He was like if they was talking to me like that, how I seen them
Mhm.
talking to Mozzie, we would have been fighting on the field because it's just no way I'm gonna let a coach talk to me like that. And so it's just like they was on Mozzie last year. It was pretty bad. Like some of the players was just like, yo, man, you know, they shouldn't be talking to him like that. You know what I mean? And so, I think it was one practice where another player had did something, and it was just like they was telling the coach like, nah, he did what he was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? You don't you know what I'm saying? They was like they was taking up for Mozzie. That's how hard it was going. So
Mhm.
um Mozzie is not gonna go nowhere. Mozzie gonna play, and he gonna play good because he's that
Yep.
type of player. He's a man at the end of the day, and he not no punk like that. You know what I mean? He might not be gifted like that, but he not gonna be like, you know what I'm saying? Like he not gonna let somebody come in and like, take his spot willingly. It's gonna
Yeah.
have to be somebody that really just talented like that. It
Yep.
ain't gonna be
We
like, you know what I'm saying?
we pulling for Mozzie, so
I
we
am.
hoping that he can turn around. And then the last thing we want to talk about as we kind of wind down
Oh, and
is
I wanted to say something else too about
go
that.
ahead.
Oh, so basically, I think that, and we was all right about George Pickens. I know I was. I know. I was kind of going off of faith, but I was telling all my people and all my cousins and everybody on Twitter that I thought they was working on something huge. I thought they was working on something big. And so when they made the trade, my text messages blew up. Was like, dang, you called it. You just said that you thought they was working on something big because I did. And so, just like right now, I think that they're working on something uh big with DT. I don't think it's
So
gonna
what do you think?
DJ Reader. I think they're working on something big with defensive tackle. I don't think they're working on nothing big with cornerback because you have too many cornerbacks in our room already. So it's not gonna be nothing big. It's gonna be something like Stephon Gilmore.
And
And
Stephon Gilmore would be perfect because it's not going to be a big contract.
he worked
He's
with he
already
worked with
made his
he,
money. Yeah.
he and he know the defense because he worked with what's the name in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah. Well,
So,
I don't know if he was there in Indianapolis, but
but I mean, he's an OG anyway, so he
yeah.
understand his role. But what I think is also too, I think that after training camp, I think you're gonna have some training camp casualties, and I think that you don't necessarily need somebody like you don't necessarily need somebody that's like DJ Reed or somebody that is going to be a bona fide starter when they come in. But if you can get somebody like like an example, somebody that's on our team that if we was to just start the season tomorrow, they could be a camp casualty. Like you can pick anybody, any one of the edge rushers. One of them could be a camp casualty. They're not going to be a camp casualty on our team, but if it
Yeah.
had to come down to it,
Somebody could pick like Sam Williams.
exactly, Sam Williams or Nealon or one of them could go and we wouldn't miss out. But it's going to be somebody like that at DT on another team. Somebody that's like, maybe they could stay, but they probably a camp casualty,
Well,
and then when
yeah,
the
there's some
Cowboys.
talk. There's some talk that Cleveland has some. They got a defensive tackle room that's kind of overcrowded. It's
So
some teams out there that
you do
got
that,
some guys.
and you have Will McClay them calling these teams saying, "Hey, we'll give you a 6 for this guy, or we'll do whatever it takes. So we'll take him off your hand. If you cut him, we'll sign him. So if you want to do right by him,
And
and
I'm not gonna rule out two spots for a trade. Now, when I say a trade, Dallas trading, I'm not gonna rule out that we don't see a Tolbert traded. I still think in the back of my mind that's a possibility. I also think it's a possibility that one of those edges, Sam Williams, somebody like that, could be traded too because the rooms are kind of crowded at the same time. I can absolutely understand too why you want to keep the rooms that way because of injuries. And we know they had some injuries last year at when Sam's went down. So it makes sense to me to just keep all the receivers, to keep all the edges too. But I wouldn't be surprised if, come kind of toward the end of camp, if they gotta do something to move and get another player.
When you look at when you look at the draft picks, some of these draft picks, you got 50-50 written on. And so once you got 50-50 written on these draft picks, like for instance, like we know Tyler Booker, he gonna be a star. You got your second round pick. He gonna be a star. We know that.
He's a Ruku, yeah.
Easy. So easy, like to give an example, that pick right there. Easy. If he's playing so good that he has to start, then it just boosts up the probability that one of those edges could be traded. You know what I'm saying? Or be trade baited. Same thing with the linebacker room or any other room that we drafted. Any other room that we drafted, if you hit, what if you hit on that linebacker? What if you hit on him? Now you got.
What if you hit on Trayshawn Holden, the receiver from Oregon?
What if you hit on Trayshawn Holden? Now Turk, because you definitely probably gonna hit on that. What's up, And so
now Tolbert would be
one of them
expendable.
So it's the same. That's what I'm saying. What if you hit on the tight ends? You know what I'm saying? And now you got, what I'm saying, Schoon or whoever. You know what I'm saying? That somebody is looking at. You know what I mean?
I don't think you could trade Schoon, but I hear you.
Yeah, you can't trade School, but I want to say Ferguson, but that I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying.
I think Ferguson gonna have a bounce back year.
Me too, but I'm just saying, I mean, if somebody call you trying to get him and they offering you a second round pick, you got to send him.
Yeah.
So it's just like, something
It'll be
like
a bold move.
Right. So, you know what I mean? It's just like we have one of the he is nice. He's gonna make the team. One of the things that we haven't had this problem in a long time.
More pushback on you two guys on that.
Nah,
he'll have an easier time making the team if the room wasn't so crowded, but
he just fits. He just he just fits the type of players that we have. Like he's a CD Pickens kind of player. He just looked like that. He played like that. He a dog like that. You know what I'm saying? He not the fastest guy, but that don't stop him from being a number one receiver at Oregon because he was.
He's a different type of player than Tolbert. Tolbert is more of a just a quiet kind of reserved. This guy right here,
prototypical. Tolbert is like a prototypical. He gonna run a good route. He gonna catch the ball with his hand. Get out of bounds. His toe tap is good. He gonna do what he got to do. But you got these other players.
What I remember about Tolbert, and I thought about this the other day, and it's really conflicting because he actually won a game. We played Pittsburgh. They ran him on a couple of 9 routes, and he just didn't have it. He just couldn't get downfield. He was just the corner and the safety was just like, come on, man, you can't run a 9 route, fam. 9 route, but you ain't.
Yeah, but that's in the same corners couldn't cover him across the field.
Yeah, he ended up winning the game to his credit. But my point is, he's just not that kind of. He's gonna be that guy that just kind of gets open. He does a good job reading defense. He knows where to be. Dak knows exactly where he's going to be. So he's,
50-50 balls, he going to catch them.
So he's going to, look, I ain't trying to frown on Tolbert. I think he's going to be good in this role that he's at. So we looking forward to see what he has. So we can go ahead and wind down. And the last person I want to talk about was Kyrie Elam, the corner. He said he looked good out there today. We're going to need him.
Yeah, they say that with the GPS monitors, he has the fastest times.
So if they can just coach him up, if he can put it together, I'll say this: when we go to Philadelphia on September 4th, I would just say just go with Kyrie Elam. I do not want to see Brevell Jr., the rookie, out there against Philly. Just you asking for trouble.
Yeah, he shouldn't be ready yet.
And I don't know if Kalen Carson. I would trust Kalen Carson in that game over Revell Jr., how he pronounces it. I just think they need to just put him on the pitch count, and I would be okay with him being on PUP. And they talking about, matter of fact, for while we close, they're saying that Diggs is gonna be on PUP. What that means is he's gonna miss the first 6 games. I would be fine with Revell Jr. missing the first 6 games. I would be.
Yeah, me too. They're not gonna do that though. But
yeah,
Izzy needs to step up too.
Man, I really think Izzy is somebody that if he just gets an opportunity to play, whenever Izzy plays, he plays well. But the thing about him, like I said, he's not a starting player in the league, but he's somebody that should be playing. And if you
If
just
he
put
can
him,
play, you can put him in the slot. That's his thing.
and he can cover the tight end too.
That's his thing.
So he just needs to play. You need to find. He's a typical Jimmy Johnson type player. They won championships back in the 90s. They had players like Izzy on the team. They were not starting players, but they played.
Right. When he covers the tight end is a non-factor for the game.
Yeah, it's just like Jordan Lewis. He was the same kind of player. Jordan Lewis on most teams wouldn't be a starter, but you put him in a role and he thrives. So Izzy can do that. He just needs the opportunity to
How
play.
did Jordan Lewis become the best slot corner in the league?
Well, because they let him play and they let him perfect his game. That's Izzy just needs a chance to play. I think Wanye is the same way. They just need to be on the field.
I mean, can you believe that that's actually a fact that Jordan Lewis is the best slot corner in the league? Can you believe that?
Yeah, but he was, they let him play. They let him, develop his game.
This boy got $25-30 million.
Izzy, they didn't give him an opportunity to do that. So hopefully he will get his chance this year. And the same with Wanye. They just need to be on the field. If they're not starting in a nickel and dime, those are the kind of players you need on the field. They're ballers, and they have talent. So that's what you're gonna need when we go to Philly. I'm just looking forward for the matchup. I just want to see guys on the field that excited about playing football. They want to be there. They want to be in the limelight.
I don't think that game. I'm just gonna flat out say it. I don't think that game is really going to indicate anything. I think we're going to beat them. I think we're going to be a little bit more hyped up than them, and I don't think that's
I thought you was going to say we was going to blow them out.
Something like that. I mean, it's going to be something crazy to where it's just like, okay, that's not an indicator of anything. That's not an indicator of how the season going to go. If we blow them out, that don't mean that we good.
And we're not going to overreact if we lose. No.
Yeah, and if we lose, that don't mean that we bad. So it's
I do you one better than that. I'm gonna go back to OG Cowboy tale. The year that we won the Super Bowl, we went up there and played the Eagles. They were undefeated. We were undefeated. Both teams, I think they were either 5-0 or 6-0. And we had trouble with them, as I've told you before. They were the team we couldn't never beat. We played them on Monday night. We were both undefeated. The game was close, like in the first quarter and a half, and then they smoked us. They beat us, and we was all like, well, it's still, we can't beat this team. And then right after that game, we won like 6 in a row. And then we played them again at Texas Stadium. I told Uncle Eric, I remember like it was yesterday, I told him, I said, if we win this game, we gonna win the Super Bowl. And we beat them at home for the first time we had ever beat them.
It's just like,
and then the crazy thing was in the playoffs, we had to play them in the first round. So when we played them in the first round, people were still kind of antsy. This was a team, we'd always had problems with. We smoked them.
So it's just like with them, it's just like that's gonna always be. It's them and the Chiefs.
But we have beat them though.
The Eagles, we normally get them. It's just like
they're not like the 49ers or the Green Bay. Now the Green Bay game is gonna be it's the fourth game, so that's gonna be the one that we do need to look at that one and say, that's gonna tell us something.
Yeah, that's gonna tell us something because we know that our team and our fans we want to win that game,
and we've struggled against them.
Right, like the Philly team, like the Philly game. That's just like that's us.
We confident playing them.
Yeah, we
but that Green Bay game is gonna be the one where
that's the game where it's real animosity there. You know what I mean?
Now I will say this: I'm not a huge fan of the Eberflus hire, but I do like the hire in terms of like the Green Bay game. What he's gonna do, he's gonna make Jordan Love throw the ball in tight windows. He gonna make Jordan Love be accurate. He gonna make Jordan Love have to just sit back there and think about where he's going with the ball, and that's what's gonna trip him up. Whereas,
speaking of that, that's a good thing right there. I like that hire because I like him playing against Detroit. I like him playing against Minnesota. I like him playing against Chicago, where he
Yeah.
came from.
He gonna make them make tough throws.
He gonna play all of them teams really good. He's so familiar with he's familiar with Detroit. He's familiar with Chicago and they offensive system that came from Detroit, and he's familiar with Minnesota's. And all three of those teams right there that I just named, Minnesota, Detroit, and I don't want to put Chicago up in there,
Green Bay.
but Green Bay, them three teams right there, you're gonna have to watch out for it because two of them is probably gonna make it to the probably two of them gonna make it to the playoffs.
The key to those games is, and the concern I still have is him stopping the run. If they figured out this stopping the run thing, that's gonna make it easier. Because if you just make Jordan Love just stand back there and have to make those tight window throws while you're under pressure, and he's gonna be under pressure.
And
No
I
question
don't
about
think
it.
you have to stop the run, no doubt. But you don't have to completely. What you want to do is you want to stop the run when you need to late in the game. You know what I mean? Like you want to stop the run. You don't want them to be getting 20-yard gashes on you. You know what I'm saying? But we should be good on that because we should have, we're running this 5-2-5, so we should have better linebacker play. We should have better front line play, being that we got 5 down linemen.
Well, hopefully by then you got a DJ Reader and Linval Joseph and some other guys.
Yeah, you got 5. You got 2 defensive ends and you got 3 linemen right there. So
I don't even know who is. I was going to say who's Green Bay running back, but they got what's his name that I wanted to sign too.
AJ Green.
No, Green Bay is he played for the Raiders. He played for Alabama. I like him. He's another one of them backs that we could have got. So it was Derrick Henry, Saquon. Is it Josh Jacobs?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's a good back. So he,
Oh yeah, he's a premier back.
He's one of the guys that I wanted to sign. So, but yeah, I'm being real. The Philadelphia game, terrific game to start, but I'm circling that Green Bay game 4. That's the one that's gonna tell us what kind of team we are.
Yeah, because they're gonna be hyped up for that game,
and that's gonna be a Sunday night.
Oh man, and it's early in the season, so ain't no excuse. Ain't gonna be cold.
Oh no, yeah.
But yeah, we can go ahead and wrap up. Little man came in here and said it's nighttime. It's time to get into bed.
Let's go ahead and wrap.
So we appreciate y'all for checking us out on our Tuesday night live. So make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the notification bells. Make sure you subscribe if you're not. And we'll see y'all on the next one.